Thank you for joining me for today's Tuesdays at 2. I am your host, Antoinette LaGrossa. Today we're going to be taking a look at addition and subtraction with number tiles, the introduction of concepts in the concrete, and graceful transition to working with those abstractly on pencil and paper is a hallmark of Montessori education and one of the reasons that it is so successful. So once your child is doing, multi-digit addition, subtraction with the decimal material, the base 10 blocks, and the number cards, the next step towards abstraction is using the number tiles. So let's take a look at that. Now, one of the Montessori quotes that wonderfully describes most of what we're doing in Montessori is the fact that what the hand does, the mind remembers. We're going for that multi-sensory experiential learning. The materials that you're going to be using for these activities are included in your Math Kit I that covers pre-K all the way through 3rd grade, and that's taking you through 4-digit multiplication and division. So you're going to want your number tiles. If you've opted for the virtual kit, you do have downloadable printable number tiles, so you can just print those out in color. Recommend printing those on tag board and having your child be the one to cut those out. Okay, so you'll need your number tiles as well as your addition and subtraction sheets. You've got these sheets come in your 3-ring binder in that Math Kit I. Again, there are PDFs for these in your customer download section so that no matter how many practice problems your child needs in order to master this skill. So the prerequisites for using the number tiles, first off, is that the child is doing both 4-digit static as well as dynamic addition and subtraction with the number cards and decimal material. That's your absolute concrete representation of those concepts. So up to this point, they've been doing operations with very concrete materials such as the dice, the dominoes, colored strips, and of course, the place value number cards and decimal material. So now that the child has achieved both competency and closure with those skills, we're going to go ahead and introduce the number tiles. Again, we're moving the child to the next step in abstraction towards that ultimate goal of just using pencil and paper. I love the number tiles because this is a bridge between that concrete and abstract that so many approaches miss. And I love this, and students really take to this activity as well because it's going to gently move them, setting them up for success, making sure that they understand the concepts with which they're working. So the first thing we're going to do is introduce the number tiles using a 3-period lesson. In the curriculum, this is completely scripted out for you, and you'll introduce the number tiles, let them know that, okay, we're ready to start using number tiles, and show them that, you've got the cube as well as the number card for one, and the number card, that's the one that's algorithmically sized for place value. We have the cube, this is one, this is one, and then we're going to show the number tile, and this is one. We do not need the unit cube or the number card anymore. We're just going to use this tile for 1. And then you go ahead and do the same thing with the 10. Now we have a 10 rod, we have a 10 card. We're just going to use the 10 number tile. We've got the 100 flat, the 100 number card, and this is the number tile for 100. We're now going to use that 100 tile, and then for the 1,000. And you can see how you've got that physical representation. I think it's most dramatic when you're looking at the 1,000, because that 1,000 number card as well as the material for the 1,000 are so much larger than, you know, what you're looking at with that 1,000 number tile. Okay, so child is introduced to the number tile materials, and then we're going to start with the static addition. That's addition without exchange. Exchange is also known as carrying. Carrying, of course, is not an actual math term, so we do like to say addition without exchange. Okay, so this is the addition sheet, and again, completely scripted out in the curriculum. It'll even tell you, showing the child, this is an addition sheet. The addition sheet helps us add numbers using number tiles. Then we're going to lay that number tile box out with that, and we're going to start with a simple addition problem that requires no exchange. For example, 4,312 plus 166. When you revisit this lesson after the initial presentation, you want to use practice with problems that do not have exchange until that skill is mastered. So first, we're going to write the numbers into the boxes, and then have the child pull out of the number tile box the amount of tiles for each of those place values. And that screen, you may miss that that's not just a single one number tile, that's 2 of those. So we have the 2 ones, the 110, the 300s, and the 4,000s. So they still have the support of the manipulative in the appropriate quantity for that place value. So we're starting with that top number, and then they are getting the appropriate number tiles for, we can go ahead and slide those tiles so that they're on top of the numbers. I had them not on in the square so that you could see what they were. Then, just like we did when we worked with the number cards and decimal material, just like the child is going to ultimately do in the abstract with just pencil and paper, we're going to work with our ones column first. And we're going to add the 2 plus 6. Now, we can simply combine the 2 and the 6 and bring it down. An alternate way of doing that is to lay the tiles out to the side. And so you'll see that at the same time. We can either bring them down. Now, by time most students get to this point, many of them are not even going to need to count up the tiles. They're going to see that, okay, 2 and 6, they just know that that's 8 from their math fact practice earlier on. But if needed, you know, we don't want those math facts holding them back. If needed, they are simply able to count up those tiles. So you can see the top number, the 2 of the ones, and the bottom number. are laid out. Then we're going to move to that next column, adding 1 plus 6. And again, you can see what that looks like laid out to the side. 1 plus 6, of course, is 7. Then we're going to work with our hundreds column, 3 plus 1. And we can lay that out to the side. And of course, that's 4. Then we're going to add the thousands. Now, in this case, we've only got 1. There isn't something in the thousands place value in that next number. So we've got the 4,000 plus nothing. So of course, then that is going to be 4,478. Now, the student has practice. There's an additional list of problems in your book for them to practice that skill with. They've gotten good at that without an exchange. Now we're going to add that exchange in for them. And what that is now we're going to have one of those columns summing to more than 10. In this case, we simply change that that second number in the ones to a 9. So we've got 4,312 plus 169. Okay, student places the number tiles for your first add-in and then for the second add-in. So they've got the appropriate numbers of those tiles. Then, just as before, we work with our ones column first. Now, in this instance, we are getting to more than 10. So just like they did when they did the multi-digit addition with the other materials, we know that, okay, when we get up to 10 of something, we're going to exchange that for that next place value up. So in this case, I've got 11, which is 10, and 1 of the 1 tiles. Then I'm going to take a 10 out of my number tile box and exchange that for the 10 ones that I had, keeping just that 1. So I place those 10 ones into the number tile box. And just like we'll do abstractly with pencil and paper, we're going to place that 10 above the tens column. And we're going to make a note to ourselves that I put 1 of the tens there. And so now when your child is working abstractly with just pencil and paper, and we're showing them to make that notation of the 1, they truly understand what that 1 is representing. Okay, then we add our 10 from up there, here, and here, and we're going to have a total of 8 of those 10s stacked together. Next, we move on to our hundreds column. We've got 3 and 1, bring those down, and we've got 4 of the 100 tiles. Next are our thousands, and of course, we only have one group of those, so we're going to bring down those 4, and our answer is 4,481. Okay, so if we were doing that very same problem and we wanted to lay those out to the side so that the child could fully see each of those numbers represented in number tiles, this is what that would look like. We've got the 4,312 plus 169. And then again, just like before, combining our ones column and seeing that, okay, I've got a group of 10 and a group of 1. So I'm going to exchange the 10 ones for a 10 tile. And then I'm going to bring down those tens, bring down those hundreds, bring down those thousands. Either way, then the notation is the same there on the paper. Okay, let's take a look at subtraction with the number tiles. And just like doing addition with the number tiles, we want to start off with static subtraction, that is subtraction without exchange, also known as borrowing. So let's start with 9,553. We're going to subtract 5,142. Now, unlike when we're working with addition, we're only laying out the tiles for your top number, okay? Because rather than laying out the ones for your second number, we are going to simply take those away. So we're starting off with the ones column. 3, we're going to take away 2 of those 1 tiles, which means that we are left with 1 of those. And then we've got 5 minus 4 of the 10s. We're going to take away 4, which means we are left with just 1 of those 10s. Then we're moving over to the hundreds column. We've got 5 minus 1. So we're going to take away just 1 of those 100 tiles. Oh, and when we are taking those away, they go back into your number tile box. I have them sitting above the box just so that you can see where they went. Okay, so the 5 take away 1 of the hundreds. Again, that is 4. And then we've got 9 of the thousands, and we are subtracting 5 from those 9. That means we are left with 4 of the thousands. And so again, we can lay that out to the side with the number tiles, or we can simply stack them on top of the boxes. Now let's take a look at doing subtraction with the number tiles with exchange. And with this, we simply, again, changed one of those numbers so that we're going to have to do an exchange. So we've got the 9,563. For this example, we have them stacked above the numbers. And we are going to go ahead and get started with that ones column and take away 2 from that stack of 1 tiles. And of course, we're just left with 1. We mark that down in the box, and then we're going to take 7 away from our stack of 6 of the 10 tiles. We can't take 7 away from that stack of 6 tiles. So this is that great illustration of the need for exchange. So we will go on over to our hundreds column, and we're going to take 1 of our hundreds and exchange that from our bank. We'll get 10 of the 10s out of there from the bank. and exchange those 10 tens for that 100 tile. And we're going to show notation that that's what we're doing. That we started off with 5 of the hundreds, we're taking one of those, so we're left with just 4. And we're moving one of those hundreds over here, but of course we're doing that with the 10 tens. So then we have 16 of the 10 tiles, and we're taking away 7, which of course we can now do, and then we're just left with 9 of those. So we mark down that 9 and move over to the hundreds column. Okay, so we have 4, but we're going to take away 1 of those, which means we're going to be left with 3 of the 100 tiles. Then moving to our thousands column, we've got 9 of those there. We're going to take 5 of them away, which means we're going to be left with 4 of the 1,000 tiles. So you can see how this is bringing the student so much closer to what they're going to be doing with these operations, just using pencil and paper, doing them in the abstract. Here is that very same problem, laying that out to the side. And then we're going to just take those tiles away, working with those same columns, starting with the 1s, then moving on to the 10s, exchanging one of our 100s for 10 of the 10s out of the bank, placing that 100 tile in there, laying out the 10 tens that we just exchanged. And of course, now we have the 16, and we're going to take away 7 of those. And then we are left with just 9. Then we're going over to that hundreds column, and we've got 4 of those. We're taking away 1, which means we're left with 3. And then taking away the 5,000s from our 1,000 column, and being left with 4 of those. So you can see how this looks with both using the tiles directly on the either addition or subtraction sheet, or laying the tiles out to the side. Hey, well, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this gives you some inspiration for working with addition and subtraction using the number tiles, and giving your child that bridge between the very concrete, working with the decimal material and the place value number cards, and getting them to that end point of just working abstractly with pencil and paper, and setting them up for success to do that. If you have any questions, you can comment below. You can also call us at our toll-free number, or email us at blog@ShillerLearning.com.